So, hello everyone. Today I will be speaking about a specific behavior that is a part of my personal life. Although I am not proud of myself for engaging in such activity, it is something to be aware of. The behavior in question is RBP, also known as revenge bedtime procrastination. So, what is RBP? Revenge bedtime procrastination is when an individual feels the need to delay going to sleep due to stress or feeling like they have not had enough free time to themselves throughout the day. This results in the individual staying up later than usual to make up for the lost time, hence the word revenge in its name. This type of behavior is often displayed by students and women. This behavior is also common amongst adults who have busy schedules that take up majority of the hours within their day. The lack of self-leisure time is what inclines people to partake in this behavior. So what qualifies as bedtime procrastination, you may ask? To your surprise, some of these characteristics may sound familiar to you, actually. Common characteristics about RBP include delaying one's bedtime to do leisure activities and also not having a valid reason as to why you're staying up late. Also, seeking immediate enjoyment from other activities rather than going to sleep. Bedtime procrastination can also occur before getting into bed by also delaying the time it takes to lay down. Procrastination when in bed can occur once laying down by delaying the time it takes to fall into sleep. Whether in bed or not, the act of not initiating the process of going to sleep to do other activities is a characteristic of revenge bedtime procrastination. So what happens if you constantly engage in this specific behavior? From personal experience, it is not pleasant and not a behavior that I would expect others to willingly be a part of. Complications for RBP vary, but the most common implication is sleep deprivation. Due to the lack of sleep, the body is not allowed to recharge after a long day, which adds stress on top of the stress of not doing leisure activities. Sleep deprivation may cause irritability within individuals and a lack of control over their emotions. Deficiencies in the ability to recall memories, think appropriately, and decision making are areas that are also largely affected by RBP. The physical health of an individual can also worsen if participating in this behavior. Health disorders, depression, and anxiety can arise as time passes. After processing all of this information, you may be asking yourself about the science behind all of this. There are a lot of factors that contribute to revenge bedtime procrastination and neuroanatomical structures that house these interactions. Let's start off with the prefrontal cortex. It is one of the main structures that is involved in revenge bedtime procrastination. The purpose of the prefrontal cortex is to help the body self-regulate and keep control of itself. Lowering the amount of synaptic activity in this region can cause side effects like poor decision making. The amygdala is also involved in this behavior. Its purpose is to regulate negative emotions, especially stress. The last neuroanatomical structure involved in this is the hypothalamus. Its purpose is to regulate sleep and the body's circadian rhythm. Reduced activity to any of these regions will cause the adverse effects of their responsibilities. There is no doubt that there are serious consequences to partaking in this behavior. Now that we have seen what structures are involved, let's move on to the neurotransmitters that work in these regions. Dopamine is one of the main neurotransmitters in this equation. This neurotransmitter is responsible for the feeling of being rewarded. It is involved in reward-seeking behavior like RBP. Serotonin is another neurotransmitter that is involved with sleep. The purpose of serotonin is to regulate mood and help with stress. Cortisol also plays a role in this behavior by acting as the primary stress hormone. It controls the stress levels within the individual's body. Lastly, there is melatonin, which regulates the body's sleep cycle. Any alteration or disruption to these neurotransmitters can lead to depression, high levels of stress, and lack of sleep. These neurotransmitters are received by their own receptors and some other ones as well. Dopamine receptors are broken up into two categories in this situation, D1 and D2. They each are responsible for receiving their corresponding activate. D1 is excitatory and D2 is inhibitory. Interruption to the D2 receptor can disrupt impulse control, leading to seeking short-term gratification. The serotonin receptors involved here are 5-HT1A and 2, 5-HT2C. So for 5-HT1A, it is responsible for mood regulation and impulse control as well. 5-H2A and 5-HT2C influence the sleep and wake cycles for the human body. Interruption to these causes poor sleep quality and difficulty falling asleep. Okay. GABA A receptors are important for calming the brain and prepping it for sleep. Melatonin receptors, MT1 and MT2, contribute to the regulation of the body's sleep cycle. Cortisol and corticotropin releasing hormone receptors that manage stress levels can elevate the levels of cortisol production if stress is present, causing a disruption to the sleep cycle. Orexin receptors, OX1 and 2, which are responsible for staying asleep in a calm state. And lastly, adenosine receptors that inhibit the mind to wake during sleep are also part of this scenario. Any interruption to these receptors can cause revenge bedtime procrastination. This includes the reduction of activity within the brain regions they reside in. So what are some recommendations for RBP? Well, healthy sleep hygiene is crucial in inhibiting revenge bedtime procrastination. This involves creating good sleeping habits that one can stick to consistently. This may take a while to become a habit, but it is needed to prevent RBP from occurring. Making a bedtime routine to follow helps provide a healthy relationship with sleep. Having a consistent bedtime throughout the entire week is also important to fighting RBP. Saturdays and Sundays are also included in this because it helps the body to fully adjust to the new sleeping schedule. That's if you're trying to unlearn this behavior. Avoid drinking alcoholic beverages at night. This will allow the neurotransmitters to activate the sleep state in the brain. Caffeinated drinks like coffee can also pose a threat to the sleep cycle of the body. Avoiding drinking caffeine later on in the day will induce the effects of sleep. The use of electronic devices can also add to bedtime procrastination because of the light from the screens, cell phones, TVs, tablets, all of that. It is recommended to stop any electronic usage at least 30 minutes before heading to bed. Relaxation methods can also be used to regulate the body and brain. Reading books, meditation, and even stretching can help one get prepared for a good night's rest. The environment also plays a huge role in sleep, and altering to a more inviting space for sleep can benefit this process. And last but not least, we have some ethical considerations, and these include freedom to do what one pleases can have the adverse effect when trying to unlearn RBP. Everyone is allowed to do as they please with their body. Inhibiting someone from doing what they want can raise some ethical concerns. The underlying causes of RBP also have to be taken into account when unlearning this behavior. Getting to the root of the issue is more important than putting someone's mental health on the line. In the case of interventions, informing the participant on the expected outcomes and possible complications is very important to relay. Being aware and respectful to an individual's culture is also an ethical principle to consider when planning an intervention.